Hello everyone, my name is Angeline Choi. Today I would like to talk about the finding of my study. This is the paper that I will be discussing today. My paper investigates how infant segments work from fluent speech in a bilingual environment. By looking at this acoustic plot, you can see that segmenting words from fluent speech can be difficult because there is no reliable pauses between words. And these situations can be more challenging in a bilingual environment when parents alternate between two languages when speaking to the baby. So a fundamental challenge for young baby is to figure out how syllables combine together and represent words. One possibility is that infants are sensitive to regularities in the environment, and they can make use of these sensitivities. For example, syllables, co-occurrence patterns, also known as transitional probability, to segment words from speech. In this example, we can see that transitional probability within words are often higher than transitional probability between words. And this difference can help infants to figure out how the combinations of syllables represent words. However, in a bilingual environment, there is an additional challenge when we focus on how statistical cues signal word boundary in languages. For example, imagine that a French and English learner hear the following. You can see that there are some common syllables between these two languages. However, this common syllable model represents words in, or maybe word boundary in different languages. Thus, for successful segmentations in a bilingual environment, the learners has to first perceptually differentiate between two languages and second, track transitional probability in each language separately. In previous work, researchers have found that monolinguals can successfully statistically segment words from two languages when the languages are separated by salience between speaker cues. For example, one language was spoken by a female and the other one was spoken by a male. However, two languages are not always spoken by two individuals in reality. Bilingual parents often mix two languages when they speak to babies. So it is important to examine how learners segment words in language mixing context. My study examined two questions. First, we want to see whether within-person cues can help learners to statistically segment words from two artificial languages in a language mixing context. And second, whether bilinguals outperform monolingual when segmenting words from two languages. We first test whether bilingual and monolingual at around 9.5-month-old can segment words from two artificial languages. Artificial language 1, AL1, and artificial language 2, AL2. When we present these two languages to the babies during familiarizations, we present them in an interleaved way in order to mimic the language mixing context. There are only one cues that separate these two languages. For example, AL1 was presented in French phonetic cues, then AL2 will be presented in English phonetic cues. After presenting these two languages to the babies during the familiarization phase, at test, we want to test infants either AL1 or AL2, and we want to see whether infants can differentiate between part word and word. And if they can differentiate these two type of words, it means that the infants can segment word from two languages. We found that both monolingual and bilinguals can segment word from two artificial languages, and the performance do not differ. Interestingly, we found that the order of presentations of the language during familiarization phase matters. For example, if infants heard AL1 first during familiarization phase and later on were tested with AL1, then they did not show any successful learning. However, if infants heard AL2 after hearing AL1 during familiarization phase and later they were tested with AL2, then they show learning. We tried to replicate this study with another group of monolinguals and using different phonetic cues. We successfully replicate our findings. That is, infants can only segment words if they heard this language later during the familiarization phase. In summary, we found that within-person cues can help learners statistically segment words from two artificial languages. And we don't find any evidence suggesting that bilinguals outperform monolinguals in our study. There are two implications of my study. First, young infants readily use subtle phonetic cues to segment words. Second, segmenting word in a language mixing context is difficult but not impossible. Thank you.